Hey everyone. Listen, before we get into this, I think it's kind of important that we recognize a few things, right? First and foremost, everyone is in a different situation, especially financially. What's expensive for some people is really nothing to others, but nobody here is here to tell you how you should be spending your money or that your opinion isn't valid. I'm just here to deliver my opinion. And I can't give you my opinion without giving you my perspective. So personally, I live really cheap. My apartment's in the middle of the ghetto. My Jeep is about 25 years old, and I don't have a girlfriend or a boyfriend or kids or anyone to spend money on, which means I very rarely go out to dinner or the movies or have an extravagant night out. That just doesn't happen anymore. These are some of the sacrifices I make in order to play whatever video games I want. Like whatever comes my way, I can generally buy because all of my money is saved for my own entertainment. And with that understanding, let me tell you that $550 for a PSVR2 headset is still way more money than I have laying around. So let's get to the real topic here. When Sony announced the PSVR2 price tag, I think I was running on about 2 hours of sleep and didn't have a chance to really process all the launch info they put out there until yesterday, I think, or maybe the day before, I don't remember. I've been paying attention, putting polls out there, and so I know that a majority of you were hoping for a $400 headset. I know I was hoping for a $400 headset. And yes, I know some of you predicted that it would be this expensive, and some of you predicted it would be way less expensive. So it doesn't actually matter what we wanted, right? We're all in the same boat now, trying to figure out whether or not we want to buy this thing at the price that was announced. But I guess it is natural to wonder if it could have been cheaper. And as a community that loves VR, we definitely wanted it to be cheaper, not so much to save ourselves 50 or 150 bucks, but more so to bring in more gamers, to get more people to buy it on day one, create a bigger install base, and then bring VR into the mainstream, all of which culminates into us getting more AAA titles. So could it have been cheaper? Well, we have no real idea how much a PSVR2 costs to manufacture. I don't know, and you don't know. So when I see comments saying that Sony's gouging us or reverting back to how they acted during the early PS3 era, I get your frustrations, but I really don't think that's true. Sony wants to get as many headsets out there as possible so that in turn they can sell as many PSVR2 games as possible. Plus, I think we're all suddenly finding out just how expensive eye tracking in a headset really is. If you look over on Amazon, this Tobii eye tracker that only does eye tracking, nothing else, sells for $250. And let's not forget we haven't seen the retail price on 2 Sense controllers. Those could easily go for another $150. So the tech Sony's using is expensive, but couldn't they have just built PSVR2 on the cheap and delivered us a $400 headset? Well, of course they could have. That was sort of the model with PSVR1, wasn't it? PSVR1 was built with outdated technology in order to make it as affordable as possible. And look what happened. We all loved it for a couple of years, but some people never got over the lack of analog sticks on the Move controllers. Some people couldn't stand the screen door effect. And there were some people who, after 6 years, still never found the perfect setup and struggled with tracking issues every single day. This time around, Sony's delivering something that'll impress from day one and won't feel outdated just a year later. Likely won't feel outdated until PlayStation 6 rolls around, unlike their biggest competitor who releases a new headset every couple of years. The one thing we really know is that Sony believes in VR. They only sold 6 million PSVR1 headsets, and 6 million is pretty much nothing in the video game space. If the original PlayStation 1 console only sold 6 million units, we never would have gotten PlayStation 2. If PSP only sold 6 million units, we never would have gotten the Vita. So Sony's actually saying, listen, we believe in this thing, despite the fact that the first one really didn't sell at all. Because the smartest thing that Sony could have done from a business standpoint was to ditch PSVR2 about 2 years ago when it was still in R&D. They could have had all their first-party studios developing just flat-screen games and not taking this huge risk developing and marketing and selling a premium headset to a super niche market. I mean, come on, Sony easily could have taken a generation off and come back to VR in 5 or 6 years when it was way more mainstream. It's obvious that Sony wants to be there on this journey with us. Now, this is kind of secondary, but I know that there's also some rumblings out there about the launch lineup, that $550 would be way easier to swallow if we knew that PSVR2 wouldn't be a repeat of the PSVR1 generation. You know, that we'd actually get AAA games every couple months, that Sony first-party studios were committed to backing the headset this time around. But look at the lineup we already have. Resident Evil 4, Resident Evil Village, Horizon Call of the Mountain, Saints and Sinners Chapter 2, No Man's Sky, Hubris, Rush of Blood 2, Crossfire, Firewall Ultra, and countless other games that should all be coming out around launch or within the first year of the headset. And those are just the games that we know about right now. So if you're bummed out or pissed off that we haven't heard anything about PSVR2 support for Gran Turismo 7 or Half-Life Alyx, Grand Theft Auto 5, just be patient. I don't know for certain that any of those games are coming to PSVR2, but I do know that Sony isn't done revealing games yet. In fact, the few I am aware of, I know will make a lot of people happy. Sony isn't phoning it in this time. The best is still yet to come. Listen, people told me for years that PSVR 2 would never happen, that Sony had given up on VR. So the fact that we're even getting it is kind of amazing. PSVR 1 came around at just the right time when gaming was getting sort of stale, for me at least, and it injected new life into my favorite hobby. So when I say I haven't been this excited for a gaming device since PlayStation 2, I'm not exaggerating. And while it might be sad to say, and possibly even sadder to hear, PlayStation VR 2 is the thing I'm looking forward to most in life. Kind of to the point where I can't even imagine having one. In fact, when I do have one, it'll be sort of like a dream come true. So technically, I was going to buy one at any price, but that's just me. As I said at the beginning of this video, we're all in a different situation. We all have different stories. So feel free to share your story in the comments below.